in the engine room, mate?
It was a good drive.
Yeah?
I came the bottom way. I didn't go over the bridge.
All right.
It was 6-1 after us and the other. I think there was 2 minutes in it, so I came via M180.
Yeah,
Just went that way. I've only been over the bridge twice.
Really?
First time I went over was last year. Yeah.
Really?
34 years old.
Reigning from Gaul, you've been over the bridge
Yeah,
twice?
I've never been over it.
Have
I've never been over it in my
got a
life.
phobia of bridges or something, is it?
No, it was weird. It was weird. But you know, like when something becomes a thing, I'd not been over it until I was 34, so I think I just kind of thought, right, I've come this far, but I had to go. I had to go over it last year. We were going to, I can't remember what it was, Caister, I think it was. And for some reason, we had to go that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that was only last year when I first went over. I'm saving it for special occasions now.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Maybe in 34 years' time, you'll do another crossing.
Yeah, an anniversary crossing, yeah.
So let's get straight into it, mate. The name, Sandra's Wedding, it raises some eyebrows. Where did it come from?
I'm going to say the same thing that I always say to people, which is there really isn't an exciting story about it.
Is it not? That's underwhelming.
No, we've had kind of like fake origin stories that we've come up with. I think the Arctic Monkeys were the same, weren't they? Because there was that rumour that it came from the drummer's granddad's band and stuff, and I think it was they were coming up with like little stories that they could weave into it. But Sandra's Wedding was well, initially it was going to be the band from Sandra's Wedding, and obviously that's just an absolute mouthful. And it's a bit too much. So then it just got trimmed down. But it's weird because there was stuff like that. I can't even remember like how it came about and stuff. Genuinely can't.
Just spitball an idea.
Yeah, it's just because the other thing is, I'd kind of started the band as just me before other people got involved. So it weren't even like that thing of sitting around a table chucking ideas around. It was literally just coming up with an idea to start doing music as a band again, and it just came. I can't remember where it came from. It came out of nowhere. But I'd not been doing music for a long time up to that point. When I went away to university and stuff, I didn't pick a guitar up for ages. So I sort of learned how to play. Did a little bit of band stuff, really DIY stuff with some friends, and then I went away to university where I thought I'm going to be the next big poet, and I got really into poetry, and that's.
Was you doing spoken word and things when you was at university then? Was you performing poetry as well? Or?
I didn't perform poetry apart from... It was weird because I had like a crossing of streams. So like I was really into poetry. I was writing poetry and studying it, all that kind of jazz. But I also started doing stand-up. All
right.
So I went to Edinburgh Fringe one year as well, like with some mates I had at uni. So I was doing stand-up. And I started weaving a little bit of the poetry into the stand-up, but it was like joke as a means to it be part of a character.
Yeah.
Basically, do you know Tim Key?
Tim Key, no.
He's a comedian, and that's basically his act. Is like sort of off the wall kind of failing poet.
Yeah.
Oh, not failing, but.
There's a few like that, like Tim Minchin Springs.
Yeah,
he's a bit of a poet.
Absolutely,
with his comedy, isn't he? He does it really well.
Absolutely. So yeah, I was doing that for a bit, and then the stand-up world is just. I mean, music's bad enough, but stand-up's ridiculous.
Is it brutal as that?
It's not so much brutal, but I just hated the way that everything just got overanalyzed so much. Like, I initially thought that it's just a case of if you're funny. You'll get up and you'll do it, but the amount of politics and like, you'll do something and like another comedian will be like, "Oh, it's a bit hack that, isn't it?" Or it's like, "Oh, that's just a bit of fluff that," and like, in a way that you won't get that with music. Like, you won't come off stage and some people maybe would if they were a bit of a knob, but like, no one's just going to go, "Oh, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that." But it's a really weird world.
I think the difference between comedy and music is like, even if you do a shit performance, you've still filled the room with some sort of sound.
Yeah.
If you go on stage as a comedian and you bomb, you are so vulnerable.
Absolutely.
You are performing to a silent room.
I've done it. I have done it. I have done it. The thing with the bombing is, one thing that is interesting about the comedians, the stand-up thing is, it's such a big part of it where, like, I think if you go into it thinking there's going to be so many nights where literally you just want to crawl off stage and just go away, that's a healthy way to approach it, because we hear comedians talking about it, and like I say, there's just so many times when nobody laughs, and that's like it is such a weird situation to be in.
Yeah, I watch a live comedy show every week on YouTube called Kill Tony. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah, I have heard of that. Yeah,
Yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe. It's an amazing show. Me and the missus look forward to watching it every week.
yeah,
Basically, for those who don't know, the premise of the show is comedians get 60 seconds
Yeah.
to do an uninterrupted minute in front
Yeah.
of usually the most savage comedians in America.
Yeah.
And people bomb every week. And
Yeah.
not only do they bomb, but they also just get attacked by the panel afterwards as well. So it makes
Yeah.
it a good show. But yeah, you're so vulnerable, aren't you, on stage as a comedian if your material doesn't go down. I couldn't do it. I consider myself a funny chap, but I
absolutely.
couldn't apply myself in that sense on stage. Do you know what I mean?
I'll be completely honest. I think that a lot of people who are naturally funny aren't comedians.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, thanks, mate. Shoot me down.
No, but in terms of proving the point. But I mean, what I mean by that is loads of comedians are funny. The good comedians are the ones that are genuinely like naturally funny, but they can do the craft as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's an art form.
yeah,
itself,
absolutely.
You've got to learn the setup.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. But there's so many comedians where, and I'm not knocking them, but if you were out with them having a pint, they wouldn't necessarily be funny. They're just really good at putting together an act and writing. Because that's a massive part of it as well as writing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's been some geniuses in the past where they can walk on stage without anything and they can just make people laugh. That's genius. That's a different ball game. But a lot of comedians, it's a lot about like they respect the craft so much that that's the way that they approach it. And I think I didn't love stand up enough to want to put that much effort in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it is really technically hard, and like the admiration I've got for people who do stand up after dipping my toe in it. And I mean, I wasn't a good stand up, or I wasn't in that world for long, but it's tough, and there's a lot more preparation behind the scenes with it. Kind of similar to music, I think, in the sense that this point's more about like how much you value your time as a performer. So like when someone's booking you for a fee, they don't see the years of time that it's taken you to get to that point. Yeah. I think some people just see it as like a brickie, and I mean they still have to train obviously and like work it up, but like
they don't see all the overheads. Like,
yeah, and that's not
respect, do they?
Yeah, I know. Saying that, I'm saying bricky. I'm not knocking anyone in trades or like that, but my point being is like they wouldn't treat a musician the same way that they would a tradesman. Like they wouldn't assume that they're going to do it for a pittance because they wouldn't insult a tradesman that way, would they? And I think, it's interesting how, there's just always a million things to. I don't even know how we got onto this. I was talking about stand up 1 minute, and now I'm doing that thing where I start going on about what musicians get paid because
that's the beauty of a podcast, mate. You can go off on tangents.
But with some people listening to this will be laughing because I've just got a bit of a thing at the moment where I always try and glean from other bands and stuff like, oh, what are you getting paid for this, that, and other? Because I think because there's an omerta about it, people end up getting ripped off. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it's because anyone's doing anything underhand or they're trying to, scam people or, scam them out of whatever, whether it's time or money and stuff. But I think bands don't really talk about that kind of thing, do they, much?
Yeah, keep it close to the chest.
Yeah, and I think even, because whether we come onto it, obviously you guys have been recording, I was just genuinely interested, like, I wonder what the day rate is there. And I thought... But it's kind of rude to just sort of say, I'm not rude, but you know what I mean, don't you? You'd be kind of thinking, you don't really want to like give too much away, do you? Because the other thing with music is...
I'm more than happy to with the studio, mate.
Oh, really?
I'm more than happy to share that with
you. We'll come on to that in a bit then.
Yeah, we can come on to that if you like, mate. Of course we can.
But I think I always kind of, in my own head, pass it as like, say... a band's discussing like money or whatever, I was like, we've paid X amount to go and record here or there or whatever. If you're investing a lot of your own money into it, which we have in past, and all the money that we make as a band goes into the projects and everything. So it wipes its own nose. So then what I sort of worry about, probably wrongly, is sometimes if we've done a run of vinyl or we've gone and recorded here, there and everywhere, people think, well, it's going to be a couple of grand, isn't it? Which it is. Yeah. And then I kind of think, are they sort of thinking, well, where's this money coming? Where's this money coming? Like, not that you've been bankrolled as such, but like, they start thinking, They must be on some sort of gravy train here
I
doing
think
that.
in this day and age, though, you can create a huge illusion that you're actually
absolutely,
investing
yeah.
more than you can. Do you know what I mean? If you've got a good team around you. But we're exactly the same as you. We reinvest everything we can.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's some gigs where we gauge it, and you know, if we think, oh, they're going to be selling a lot of tickets for this and making a lot of money, we'll try and get a fee that kind of represents more closer to where we want to be.
Absolutely.
Other gigs get thrown at you, but like for us, we want to start playing more cities. You know, we want to build up a bigger following, places like Sheffield and stuff like that. And we know we're going to have to do some really, really
absolutely
shitty paid gigs for it. It's
absolutely
the reality of it. But if you're serious and you want to build, you know, if you want to build up that reputation for places, you've got to do it, haven't you?
Oh yeah. I mean,
round here, I'd be reluctant to play a gig for not a lot of money now, do you know, because I think we're positioned quite well locally.
Absolutely.
But out of town, mate, would cover our fuel, we'll pay.
It's a weird one, really, because I think, like, you've kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, you've come to that conclusion about playing local gigs and fees and stuff because you've done the work, the years, in terms of you've got to a point where you shouldn't really be turning up and getting nothing or littens or pittance, yeah. And I think that'd be my advice to bands starting out, is like, it's a really rubbish thing to say, but when you are just starting out and you're trying to develop a following and stuff, is you are going to have to do some rubbish gigs. Yeah. And you're going to have to do them for not much money. And I think I'd be worried if I was in a band, say if I was a new band starting out and there was another band member that was saying, no, we're worth this, we should be getting this, that and other, and you start precluding yourself from gigs because you think you should be getting more. You're absolutely right. In an ideal world, you'd be getting it and you should be getting it. Yeah. But it doesn't work like that, does it?
Yeah. I think you've got to... I think it's two-way, though. You know, I think it's a great thing to measure your self-worth. But then I think you've maybe got to look inwardly and think, well, is the product I'm offering a well-rounded product?
Absolutely,
It's like, oh, I'm worth more than this.
Absolutely.
But what are you actually offering? Because I think it's not enough to just put out good records or just have a good live performance. So I think you've got to do everything. Do you know what I mean? And they're the bands that are deserving of the breaks.
Definitely.
I think you've got to do everything and be humble at the same time, you know, and accept that to get somewhere you're going to have to go through some shit, mate.
Absolutely.
You know.
And I wouldn't change what we've done in terms of gigs and stuff. We'd enjoyed them. You know, I'm not knocking, again, it's not to suggest that gigs we've done in the past haven't been good. You know, it's been really rare that we've ever done a gig where we've been like, my God, what that was, you know, for whatever reason, that was ridiculous or whatever. You know, we've been and done them and we've enjoyed it. We've met some great people. And I mean, the flip side of it, I don't know if you'll agree, is sometimes the dynamic between, like, you'll get some promoters in inverted commas who put things on and, like, yeah, fair enough, you want to be a promoter, you want to do that job, but they don't want to do any promoting. Yeah. And you look at it and you think, well, you've got to... that's what you want to do. That's the world that you're in. It's like they want to be a promoter, but they want to be like, well, we haven't sold many tickets. Can you get more tickets sold then? And I get it, because obviously...
So frustrating, though, isn't it? They don't put any effort into it themselves.
Absolutely. Well, there is an element of the band's responsibility. I completely get that. I'm not sat going, oh, I want to turn up on a throne and, you know, like, there's all these fans there. You know, you've got to take your own fans along. But I think people pick up on when... you smell blood in the water, don't you, when bands are, like, begging people to please, 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 like, for weeks and weeks and weeks and months, and like, yeah, we've done it. But then you think, is the promoter putting the same work in here? Like, are they actually, you know, developing it and stuff? And there's the other thing as well, like, you know, the hospitality industry it's under a lot of pressure at the minute. Do you know? Yeah, I know, absolutely.
Not a lot of people have that disposable income to go and piss it all up the wall, do they? A lot's changed, certainly, over the last sort of 15, 20 years in terms of hospitality, hasn't it? And
absolutely.
The culture around going out. But at the same time, if you can't afford to put acts on, which is the, you know, ultimately the thing that's bringing people into your venue, maybe you need to look to diversify, maybe do something a bit different, innit? But a lot of artists do allow themselves to be undervalued, and it does go down, because some people can manage to book gigs by paying next to nothing, literally preaching, oh, you're doing it for the exposure. Do you know, I fucking hate that term. When a promoter says you're doing it for the exposure, they need taking around the fucking back of the building and shooting, mate.
It's a funny one, because the times when it's been worth gigs for the exposure, that hasn't been the reason why we've done them. Like, you know, like, you pick up fans in weird places, don't you? That's why I generally don't like saying no to gigs. And to be fair, we're talking about fees and stuff. I mean, a lot of the time, I weigh it up and I think, is it going to be worth it for whatever reason? Like you say, there's going to be new people there that can hear me as an act. you know, are there some other good acts on where I think, you know, if they're going to watch them, then they'll maybe be into what we're doing. Or is it a new venue where it'd be nice to get a foot in the door there kind of thing? Yeah. You weigh it up against all that stuff. Definitely, and I suppose my point with that is, especially when you're really starting out, is if you're only thinking about the fee, you'd maybe mean that you maybe miss out on a couple of bits where you think it was maybe worth going for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's taken me, I mean, we started in 2016. It's taken me till now to even think about the money being somewhere where I can go back and say, you know, it's not really that much, is it? So it's taken me this long, and us as a band this long, to start going, like you said, I don't think it's enough for us to come and play, really.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually quite a skill to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And to do it without sounding like I've just done there, like you're almost apologising, like.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to look at it in terms of like a strategy, haven't you? You know, and I think like with Healer, we're kind of at the point where we're not pretentious. Do you know what I mean? We'll play gigs that come to us, but do they fit in with where we're at the minute? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to position ourselves in a certain place. Playing certain types of gigs is going to water down what we want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In that sense, so it's like it's not like we're trying to be pretentious. You won't get a Premier League football player joining a Sunday League team. Do you know what I mean? You want to mix with the people that you aspire to be.
Absolutely.
Or the people who are at the same level as you, don't you, in a sense?
Yeah.
And I think some venues can hinder it, you know, like having your name against certain things and certain festivals and things like that. I think you've got to be careful in that respect, you know. And that's kind of how we're going. But like I said, we're humble. We're not trying to be pretentious with it. We will take any gigs that come our way.
Yeah.
But they've got to work for us. We're not just going to jump at any gig because it's come our way.
Absolutely.
Know? And we've turned down some pretty decent gigs, especially locally, because we thought, oh well, we're actually doing that other gig a bit down the road. We want to maximise impact there, so let's not bother doing that. You know, and we've turned a couple of bits away doing that, but we feel like it's necessary almost. You know,
it's interesting how, you know, it's essentially that same conversation that we've been having, really.
Yeah.
And like you say, I think you come to a point when you must just hit it naturally, where you start taking yourself a bit more seriously. I certainly do, in terms of writing and the art of it. And I mean, I'd never call myself a singer-songwriter. I'd never walk around doing that. I don't do that. Not because I don't want to, but just because it don't feel comfortable. Because like I say, I come from the town, like Galway, where we're from. Like, there isn't a huge creative scene. It's not like a place where you rub shoulders with artists often. I mean, there's some there, and they're very talented, and it's a small. It's only 20,000, you know, the town. I actually looked at populations compared to Grimsby. I think it's great, Grimsby, and it's quite a big area, but I think it's like 200,000. I think something.
I'm not sure around here, to be honest. I wouldn't have said it was that much.
I think, but I think that incorporates a lot of like the village, you know, like all the area around it. I think.
I don't know if you could
180,000.
If you could Google that or anything, Dane, while we're on this. But
pull it up, Jamie. I know his name's not James Dane. Sorry,
I'd have made that mistake as well. To be fair, this is a milestone in the podcast because I've never actually broke the fourth wall.
Is it the first time?
Yeah, I've never broke the fourth wall and asked Dane to do something. Believe it or not, we do have someone behind the camera on this podcast.
80,000
doing bits.
86,000. 200,000. Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had that in my head.
I bet Grimsby, Cleethorpes, and
2468. So
yeah, North East Lincolnshire is probably, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But so to my point is, you know, the size of Gull, it's like one slice of, you know, this bigger area that you've got here, and I think they face a lot of the same challenges. Even obviously we came in talking about the docks and stuff, is that me saying, you know, I don't want to walk around saying I'm a singer-songwriter and stuff, is it's not a place where there's tons of that kind of thing going on. So you're almost like always like a bit like, yeah, we're doing this thing. It's all right. It's good. It's, you know, we're enjoying it. You know, but it's never. I don't think for young people it's seen as a career, and I imagine it's the same here as well. You know,
it's a bit of an odd one around here. It seems that there's a really good music scene at the minute.
Yeah, I was listening to the other recent pod. Was it? I can't remember his name, but the guy from was it Orphan Boy?
Oh yeah.
You were talking about
Robin Smithy.
Saying all about all the bands that are knocking around, and I was thinking, yeah, there are some good bands actually.
There's some bands who are absolutely smashing it around here at the minute, particularly young bands. Band called Revivalry, young three-piece, not long out of school. I think they left school last year, but they're smashing it. They've got a deal.
We played with them at Dockside Academy, I think.
Yeah.
We were supporting Apollo Junction.
Oh, right, yeah. You probably
last year.
Yeah.
I think it was them.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, three really young lads.
Yeah, really young. Yeah, they were jumping about. He was jumping on bar a lot.
yeah, they go for it. Yeah, and then there's another young band called Ever. They've just been over to LA recording.
Oh wow,
three young lads. So, Grimsby's. It's a bit of a weird one because we're a small town. Well, we're a big town, but we're not a city, but we haven't got any cities nearby. It's kind of like you in a sense.
Yeah.
It's like you're your own thing. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't tag on to any city scene or anything. It's like you exist in your own pocket, and it just so happens in Grimsby, the pocket's absolutely booming at the minute.
Yeah.
But not. There's always room for improvement. But
it's very
certainly over the past 5 years or so, with the introduction of Dockside Academy and things like that.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on. I love it. I buzz it. It's one of the reasons I started all this. Do you know what I mean? There's so much going on. Let's platform it a bit. Let's talk about it in a different way. And promote it in a different way.
It's interesting you saying that though, because like you say, I've asked you sort of questions off grid. Like I remember when you first asked me to do this, I was looking into it and I was like, I wonder how they got it off the ground and like what the mechanics of it are and like how he's got involved with it, because I'd love to get something started in goal.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'd be goal sized and the goal scope, and you don't want it to be like too focused on where you're from, because obviously I'm here now. I'm not from Grimsby, so it's good what you're doing in terms of your platform, but you're also like bringing people in, aren't you, from outside?
Yeah.
And I think that's what they could do with Goal is having the platform there for other original artists to come in and play, which is what we are trying to do. I did one event other month as like a debut for my 35th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, that was back in March. So just called it Gold Shipyard because like that was a big part of the town. My dad worked there.
Yeah, he's renowned for its shipbuilding.
Yeah. Family, my family worked there for years.
Your family from Gould, sort of generationally.
Yeah. For a good long time. Yeah. Sort of big families on both sides, like mum and dad's as well.
Yeah.
So
there's always a hint of Gould, and you touch on a lot of the themes, don't you, from the history of Gould in your songwriting, I've noticed.
Yeah. I enjoy doing that. But it's weird we're doing that. And I was thinking about this today, actually, how like because there ain't tons of stuff going on in Goal and coming out of Goal, we get called like the Goal band, and I love it in the sense that I'm really proud of Goal. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a great place. I think people who live there, it's like anywhere, I bet it's the same here, people who live there make out that it's the worst place on earth, it's this, that and the other, but I think they don't realise sometimes how lucky they are because some of the people are brilliant and, there is some good stuff. Could it be better? Yeah, absolutely it could. And that's why, on the music side, I'd love to just get something going a bit similar to this and start getting some more bands coming in and stuff. If there's any
advice I can so, you know what I mean? Anything I can do to help you get off the ground, just let us know.
Yeah, I will do.
I'm quite lucky in the sense I've managed to get all this off the ground with very little investment, really. And it's mainly down to the support I've had from Creative Start, who own the building that I'm in. They've, it's been two-way. I've been helping them kind of build up some sort of music presence, and they give me the tools and the time and the space to do it, and it's working really well. But we're more than happy to sort of share knowledge or anything like that and get people hooked up.
Really appreciate that.
Doing a live event or even a podcast if you wanted.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
As I say, there's tons of places similar to this in Goal, like say old shipping offices and admin buildings and offices and stuff. So there's definitely scope for it, and I think it's like turning an oil tanker, really, in the sense that if we do get something going, it'll be a while until young people in town start feeling like there is something going on. If you're into music and stuff, and I mean, even that, you can't change the world with it, but what I do think is that if young people in the town and the wider area sort of go, oh yeah, they were in a band, they did that, and there's these nights every month, similar to what you're doing here, where you can go and see a band and stuff. The exposure is a big part of it, I think, in it to
I think every town needs something, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just some remnants of a scene, And it'd be a shame if there's places out there where there isn't any remnants of a scene, because what's that doing for creativity in terms of music in that area? You know, that's the sad thing about a lot of services that have disappeared over, you know, coming years. Like, kids used to be able to do so much. Like, I used to be able to do so much growing up.
Yeah.
You know, you know, there was so much to do as a kid after school to get you into things, different sports, different activities. And they're being eroded, and you know, I hope there's no places in the UK where they haven't got any remnants of a music scene, because that'd be so sad.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, you're in that situation really in Goal at the moment, and
you say that, but you guys are working.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. So I mean,
you've got 5 albums, 2 EPs,
well,
bunch of singles.
Yeah,
working on the 6th.
But I suppose my point with that being is, like, as I say, I almost feel a bit of a responsibility now to try and get something going off the back of that.
That's good, mate. That's beautiful.
But what I also, you know, would say is, you know, there's some really, really good bands in the town that do covers and stuff. You know, they're absolutely rocking it in terms of, you know, like, they fill the pubs, and what they're doing for the town in terms of the venues and stuff is brilliant. And I think my thing is, like, stepping back, I was like, these guys are all absolutely fantastic. You know, they're doing a really good thing with it. And I don't think it's because people don't want to listen to music. It's because, how do you get the original music into town? And because none of these places are established doing original music, we can be a bit of a conduit. Like, we can get in touch with you guys and say, look, going back to fees and stuff, we're trying to get this thing going in Goal. We can give you X amount of money. It's not much, but because there's that personal connection, we can almost be cheeky for a little bit to get things going. And, you know, and I appreciate it doesn't sound great as, like, you know, a fellow band kind of thing. But let's be honest, I mean, we've both been and played places where it's a big city and it's a big promoter and stuff, and you don't necessarily come away with hundreds and hundreds of pounds, do you?
No. A lot of the big promoters don't pay a lot until you've got your foot in the door.
No, absolutely, and I'm not.
You've got to test, you know, get your toes in with them, haven't you?
Absolutely, and I'm not knocking. I worry now that people are going to think that I'm obsessed with money and stuff.
This feeling and that they must get absolutely spammed with requests.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I get it. You know, they've got a.
But yeah, I mean, to my point is, like, obviously, because we've met so many good people going around, and we call a lot of bands our friends now, is that we can be a good conduit for bringing them in. Because if it was up to just, like, the pubs going, like, oh, how do we get these original bands in? Where do you start? Yeah. And that's where you can end up getting, not scammed, but that's where you can end up being, like, ringing an agency or a promoter and saying, oh, you know, we want some bands to come down here. And I would be worried that, like, because of the reputation it has as a place and not everyone knows where it is like, people think, oh, cool, we'll just toss it off, we'll just do whatever and I think because we've got a genuine love of the place and we care about it, it's going to mean that
you'd be the perfect people to pioneer that then, mate.
Yeah.
It's like anything, innit? You've got to be consistent, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I'm quite lucky around here starting something like this because there's a wealth of talent to sort of draw upon.
Yeah.
There's, like, quite a dedicated music scene around here.
Yeah.
Albeit not very big. But it's having that consistency, innit? Like, I eventually want to make the podcast and the Sabre sessions kind of like, you know, like, kind of like the New Adelphi's a stop on everyone's tongue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that sort of thing. Like, you're going to be getting a little bit of a quirky package, a little content package, doing a little gig. That's the way I see it. But I'll only achieve that by being consistent and enough bands and artists posting about it to make it relevant to other people to want to come. So you just got to chip away at it. But like you said, it's probably going to be painful to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you've got to do it. And
yeah, you'll be getting an email. You'll be getting an email.
Another thing to consider as well is them young, you know, boys and girls who are doing covers around Goal and whatnot. They might be fucking itching to start that journey. There's a band round here. I won't mention the name because it's not fair on them, but been giving them a little bit of advice, you know, chatting to them here and there. And they started off as a covers band and they're really talented, but they had the confidence come up to us at a gig and say, we really want to fucking start doing originals, but, you know, we want to write original music, but we wouldn't know how to start. How do we get a gig as an original band?
Yeah.
So they had all the intentions, but we had a good chat with them one night at a gig in the green room and said, you need to ring fence your covers, you need to start a whole new identity as an originals band, you need to start writing original music, don't water down your original music, just push you. And then a couple of months later, they was like, right, we've changed the name to this, we're doing this, that. They've just been in the studio, recorded a couple of tracks, and they're really having a go at it. But like, brilliant. So them young boys and girls, they might need that forum where there's people playing original music to have that kind of confidence to ask and explore playing original music. It's very easy to play covers, isn't it? You know, it's very easy to get a bar going.
It's weird with covers though, because I think even with covers, I think there's like there's people that are good at them, and there's people that are really good at them. And I think the people that are really good at them, I do admire it, because I think I like people that put their own spin on stuff, you know, like not like changing it to like ska or whatever, if it's like whatever, you know, like not that much. But it can work. But if they put their own little spin on it and stuff, it can be a good way to get into it. But to your point, I mean, that advice that you've given that young band, you know, that's the invaluable bit, and that's the bit where if you've got some kind of ecosystem where there are some young bands doing originals in goal, one's called Lodged in Life.
Okay.
And the other's called Counterproducts, and they're really young, both of them. But even with doing this, I thought it's the worst thing in the world is that, you know, we put a year's worth of gigs on, we give them the chance to play locally, and we get other bands from out of town to come and play. See how it goes, and we'll go from there. But there are young people that are interested in music, and I kind of think it almost feels like it'd be a bit neglectful of myself to have got to this position where we're lucky in the sense that we worked hard for it, but, you know, we get around, we sell enough records to pay for recording.
Yeah.
You know, we're really lucky. The guys at Humber Street Sesh are brilliant. You know, we're able to go over and play there, get us on there. They've been brilliant. I mean, because we from Gould as well, we're kind of like wandering nomads a little bit. So the fact that in Hull have been really receptive, and as in obviously, and like you've said, Grimsby's only really popped up in the last few years, hasn't it, really, as a destination? More so than it was before, in terms of the things that have cropped up.
Yeah, it died a death for years, mate, but the past 5 years or so, it's really sort of taken off.
Absolutely.
People are taking it seriously again. And
so even with that, like you say, we've gone to Hull a lot. Hull's probably like one of our bases, really, in terms of, you know, the fans, the people that follow us. Yeah. There's a lot in Hull. The more times we come to Grimsby, hopefully, you know, more people will start listening to it there. But it's a bit weird being where we're from for the reasons I've outlined there, but also just because you're kind of in a bit of a no man's land there. You're not close enough to Leeds to be a Leeds band. You're not close enough to Hull to be a Hull band.
That's what I was saying. You were just a satellite art.
Yeah.
You haven't got anyone else's scene to slot into.
Yeah.
It's like you've got to push it on your own. You know. Luckily, in Grimsby, but like Orphan Boy, they really put Grimsby on the map a few years ago.
Yeah.
They were doing really well. And I think they've done well for other bands who are trying to do something from Grimsby. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it's like, but hopefully Monday, Healer, you know.
I was trying to remember the first time that we met in terms of playing.
I can remember. It was the sesh at the Hull Social. There was us, you and Jackson D on the bill.
I do remember that night then, yeah. It had not been open long. Or it had only just opened, I think, hadn't it, as Social? It was through on it for obviously years.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
And then it reopened as a Social. And I think it might have been around when they opened it, you know. I remember now. It was a decent night, that.
Yeah, I can remember it being all right, yeah.
I seem to remember there was a few in. Yeah, actually, I remember now, because I remember being sat backstage.
Is there anything else? Can't think if there's anything else.
I
remember seeing you pissed up once.
Where was that?
Outside a pub in like fucking Cottingham or something. Do you know what I mean? But we didn't know who you were. We just went, fucking hell, Sandra's wedding. And he was like, hey. That was it. A complete random interaction, mate.
That doesn't sound like me.
It was definitely you.
Oh, no, yeah. Well, being on the sober sessions, that's a good sign. But it's interesting, actually, because even on that side of things, obviously, from the podcast, I've picked up that, you know, you're involved with this because you've got the passion related to the fact that, you know, the sober lifestyle and sobriety.
Yeah. Well, I'm very passionate about the Creative Start project that, you know, for those who don't know, have not listened before, it aims to get people through recovery by empowering them with art projects and things like that.
Yeah.
It's something called a lived experience recovery organisation. So the people who are providing that sort of recovery care and that advice and guidance are people who have lived experience of it.
Yeah.
And I just think it's great, some of the things they do for the town and for the recovery community and whatnot. And that's where my passion comes into it. You know, I want to promote that project through this. You know, and there's, as you know yourself, there's a lot of people who in music who do have problems with
definitely, yeah,
with substances and whatnot, and with alcohol. So
absolutely,
there's a lot of crossover. And if we can, you know, share some stories of wisdom of people who've got through that and use creativity as a tool for sort of healing, then why not platform it? You know, why not? It's
becoming a lot more common for people to knock it on the head. And I mean, like say my best friend, he just woke up one morning and was like, I'm not having a drink anymore. Not in a really dramatic way. He wasn't like for any particular reason. Like he didn't wake up after some horrible event or anything like that. It was just had enough.
Yeah.
He just literally just drunk enough that he just said, I don't want any more.
Yeah.
He says like he's not militant about it in the sense he's not like saying he's never going to have a drink again. But I do admire it. I've had periods where I've not drunk enough. Yeah, I've thought, I get it. I get the benefit of it.
Yeah, it doesn't have many redeeming qualities, does it?
It doesn't.
Other than being like a social lubricant.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still have the odd drink, but I've probably had less than 10 pints this year. Do you know what I mean? And it's if I didn't play gigs, I'd probably never have a drink.
Yeah, that's the thing,
mean?
innit?
Is it the same for you? Do you feel like? But you say I'm sensible. I hate feeling rough after a drink.
Yeah.
I don't like being pissed either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I got pissed.
I'm kind of like that. I'm a pub man. In the sense that I just love being in pubs.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously, being in a band, you're in a lot of pubs.
If Sandra's wedding was a pub, what sort of pub would it be?
It'd be a bit like White Locks in Leeds. Do you know White Locks? You know the really old one down the Ginnell?
No, I don't know. No, I'm not.
It'd be a bit like White Locks. Old style, but like what would have years ago been like a proper working pub, like a lot of traffic coming through. People having a few pints. I'm not into like trendy bars and stuff as such.
Gentrified venues and all that.
I'm not one of them that's like camera real ale kind of like, oh no, I'm never going to a place like. It's not like that. It's just there's a certain vibe, almost that vibe.
Like quintessentially,
I just love
British
pubs.
food.
Yeah, pubs, just proper pubs. And yeah, like that thing of my fiance don't get it. Because she didn't grow up in pubs and she's not really like bothered. Like for me, going to a pub, it's an experience in itself. And I was actually thinking about obviously relationship with alcohol and stuff. Obviously coming on here because I thought potentially it might come up. So I was just sort of like, as I was walking around with Pram, and I was thinking, I think one of the best things for me about drinking is the idea of that first pint.
Yeah.
Like going out and thinking, where's it going to be? What's it going to be? Like when...
The tradition of it, like the routine of it.
Yeah, well, it's like, when I think about drinking, because I know that you've discussed it on other podcasts with other people, is like, I've never drunk, or like you said, to get drunk, like that oblivion thing. It's never really been my thing. Obviously, when you're younger, it happens, doesn't it?
But the thing is, I did it that much
in
my 20s that it gets to a point where I'm like... So you would have qualities for that. Do you know what I mean?
So there would have been a period like when it was just a means to an end to just like black out, kind of like that.
Yeah, I grew up on one of the most socially deprived.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it's like you're a product of your environment growing up as a kid in a place like this. Do you know what I mean? It's just like no fault of anyone's.
Yeah,
it's just like I grew up fucking going, I can't wait till I'm 18. Can't wait to go out in the pub. Do you know what I mean? It's sad, really. And a lot of kids are like that growing up, and I do get it. It's because it's taboo, isn't it? It's like it's like golden egg you're chasing, and you can't have it till you're 18. So I do get it, but I just went that hard, mate, when I was younger. Particularly like I was in the army for a bit and fucking drinking culture in the army and stuff like that.
Yeah, initiations and stuff like that. And
initiation is just boredom. Do you know what I mean? What do? Just
a downtime.
Just get pissed. And, you live with a bunch of animals, mate. Like everyone's trying to fucking out testosterone each other out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I done enough, and it's not good for you. I feel like shit every time I have a drink. But gigs, mate, gigs are the problem. You think, I'll just
have one or two.
Have one, and I'll get a bit looser on stage and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've done several gigs sober. I can do it without.
It's weird, isn't it?
You get a little gremlin that.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Because like you say, it's not a trademark as such, but like I'll just have a pint at my feet on stage. And, I think about that in terms of, sometimes I think I use it as a bit of a crutch in the sense that I think if I take a pint on stage, people will think he's kind of loose with it.
Yeah.
We'll let him off. He's not because he's drunk, but because he's obviously like in a comfortable situation, he's having a beer. And you want to get across, like, not an everyman kind of vibe with it, but, like, I just think, I imagine it being a way for an audience to think, oh, right, yeah, He's having a pint.
Something to connect with, kind of thing.
Not even that. I don't know. It's weird because I've been thinking about it.
You feel like it's almost like a bit of a safety net for you.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
You almost have a bit more leeway to be. Well, it kind of makes you more comfortable with the idea of maybe going wrong, perhaps.
Yeah, potentially.
So you think, oh well, I've kind of got a bit of a fail-safe here, because they might just go, oh, well, is that a bev?
Yeah, there is maybe an element of that.
It's a bit of a safety net sort of thing.
Potentially, yeah, absolutely.
Same like people like some singers prefer having a mic stand because they feel like it's a natural barrier in the crowd, and it just gives them that little bit of extra constellation on stage, isn't it? But it's interesting here about people's little, I've done
tons of gigs sober though, and it's never been. I'm not like if I'm doing a gig sober, I'm not like sort of stood at side of the stage like, oh my god, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? I ain't had a beer. It's not like that. It's just I'm a bit like, if there's one available, I'll probably have it. Yeah. You know, like say when you go into gigs and stuff, and like you say, anywhere you're playing, inevitably there's alcohol in there.
Yeah, that's your office, isn't it? It's a room full of people usually.
Absolutely. But yeah, in terms of even like you're talking about obviously your background and obviously the fact that then when you're younger, a lot of the drinking was quite disruptive.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, even with that, I've been quite. I suppose it is a look really that my upbringing wasn't as such where I've had a relationship with alcohol where, and I imagine it's horrible, to drink to just like switch off fully, like just be like, right, I'm shutting down, I'm having a drink. It's like for me, it's out in pubs in company, hitting a level, and I mean I love like low strength beer, just drink it all day, but like to the point where you go home in an evening and you're a bit fuzzy and whatever, but you're not. I think. It sounds. It must be hard to have that relationship with alcohol where, and I'm lucky because I don't know about yourself. When I drink, my personality don't really change, and I've been around people where it does, and I just think that must be really, really draining. Like it's like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty like, I wouldn't say like overly confident, but I never take anything too seriously. I've always seen funny and stuff. Do you know what I mean? I always have a laugh with stuff. Yeah. And that's elevated when I've had a drink. And I can get a bit fucking obnoxious with it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm well aware of that. But it's one of them, it's like, if I drink to get pissed, if I'm drunk, of course I'm going to be a dickhead. Do you know, I've got no inhibitions. No. Do you know, when I'm like a cocky, sort of funny, trying to make a laugh of everything anyway, take that filter away, mate. I'm fucking dangerous. Yeah. But yeah, gone are the days of that,
A lot of young people aren't drinking now, are they? So that's interesting.
I think it's becoming more and more distasteful to people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, but I think that's with everything. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, how there's like a vape for smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bring out some like. Because I feel like the alcohol industry has got to evolve, haven't they?
Yeah.
More and more people putting the drink down, they've got to give them a healthy alternative that's going to get them fucked up. Do you know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
There are...
And that sounds daft, doesn't it? Like, they've got to give them a healthy alternative to getting fucked up.
Yeah.
But that, unfortunately, that's advertising, isn't it?
That's absolutely.
They're still going to want to sustain them sales somehow. They're going to want to make it attractive to young people.
There are some drinks out there, aren't there, that have got like these natural stimulants in and stuff, but... They call it like a buzz, don't they? Where it's not like caffeine or out like that. It's literally, I don't know what it is, but it's some element or some synthetic thing that they've done where they say like if you have two, you get the same kind of like little kick that you get if you have a couple of pints or whatever. But as I say, I think context is key for me with the drinking. Like say, you're in a lot of pubs with the band, and then like when we get mixes back, like when you're recording. Obviously, you've been recording recently. Yeah. When you're getting mixes back and listening to them, just love sitting in pub with headphones on, just having a pint. Yeah, that's where I do it.
Yeah.
Writing as well. Yeah. Lyrics sometimes. I just feel comfortable in it. You know what I mean? And
there's nothing against that.
No, it is.
There's nothing against
and
that.
I think.
I mean, you're very lucky in the sense that, like me in the sense, you've got a good relationship with it.
Yeah.
I'm always lucky in the sense that there's been times when I've drunk excessively, but I've never been an alcoholic. It's never grabbed me, and I've got a very addictive personality. But I'm very lucky in the sense that alcohol, I've always been like, if I drink too much booze, I'm gonna fucking stink and I'm gonna feel awful.
Oh yeah,
I mean, so that's always been like, We're so lucky, mate, because for a lot of people,
absolutely,
it grabs them. Do you know?
I mean, I'm kind of sat here now thinking, like, say, I've come on this podcast basically going, drinking's brilliant. It's magic.
No.
But it's not that.
At the end of the day, mate, I'm not here to preach sobriety. I'm not here to push it on anyone. I'm here to try and have an open and honest conversation about it when it comes up, if you know what I mean.
As I say, I kind of know that I drink too much, in the sense that, you know, any amount is too much, really, innit? But I do sometimes sit and think, you know, we're just having a young'un and stuff as well. I don't know if I'd want him to have the same relationship with alcohol that I've got, in the sense that I know for a fact my fiance won't, because she's not a big lover of pubs and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So he's not going to be sat around like I am, you know, like going for a few pints on an afternoon and stuff. He just won't be. And I just think
generation now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's only like 1.5, so I mean, it's going to be different again by the time he's sort of old enough. And I mean, I'm sure that you'll agree as well with this. I think the one thing about what replaces it is pubs are a great community space.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big thing that people have to wrestle with in terms of, you know, retrofitting these places. And what you're doing here, you're answering the question, really, aren't you? Of what you can do where people don't have to go and have a beer.
Yeah.
And there can be music, and there can be, you know, culture and creativity and stuff.
When we've got our other building open across the way, we're going to lean into a bit of a dry bar. Because people do use 0% alcohol as a tool to get sober.
Yeah.
And having a 0% beer behind the bar might be the difference between someone taking that first step. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone who goes, I can't go to a gig without a beer. Well, you can go to a gig and you can have a 0% beer.
Yeah.
You can have a fucking great time.
Some of them zeros are quite good.
Yeah. And there's a bit of a culture around it as well.
Yeah.
It's becoming a bit of a trendy thing. And I'm not saying we don't want to get to a point where we're promoting 0% alcohol.
No.
But we want people to use that as a tool at our events should they need it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the way I see it is, if you're putting on an event, if you can put on a 0% beer and someone like, you know, me or you or someone who would usually go to a drink and have a beer, usually go to a gig and have a beer, they can come to one of our events and have a 0% alcohol beer. You know, I see that as like a little winning outrise.
Yeah,
in terms of pushing a, you know, recovery project.
Absolutely.
And it's normalising that experience for people as well, isn't it? And it's, you know, opening more people up to the idea of it.
Absolutely. I do think one thing that's changed recently is the stigma of, even in my time drinking, say my mate or someone comes out and says, I'm not drinking. In the past, there'd have been a bit of like, what do you want about? And they just get hammered until they just had a pint because they think it's not worth it. I'm just getting so much stick, you know, for not having a beer. Whereas now I think people are a bit more tuned in and a bit more mature with it, I think. So say someone in a friendship group says, I'm not drinking. I don't think there'd be the same amount. I mean, some people are lucky in the sense, you know, I'm talking
again. You think it's that like mental health conversation?
I think there's a big part of that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what sprung to mind when you mentioned that. I thought maybe it's because people are like opening up a bit more about stuff, and it's especially men's mental health.
Absolutely.
I feel like the stigma's slowly starting to lift on mental health for men.
I would say so.
But it's just, I think it's an age thing as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're young, like everyone's just fucking trying to out for everyone, and everyone's like, everyone's stuck in that silo mindset of, you know, weekend binge drinking and things like that, aren't there? But like thinking back, I've definitely been that person in the past who's been like, oh, you dickhead, have a drink. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, same.
100%
Yeah, absolutely.
Being that,
Yeah.
but we all have, do you know?
Yeah,
but thinking back now, like it leaves a fucking bit of a sour taste in your mouth, doesn't it? Going, so if I've been that, I've been trying to fucking force someone to have a bev. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think the other thing you realise when you get older, I mean, like turning 35 is a lot's changed since I started going out drinking.
Yeah.
The world was a different place. You know, in 2006, 7, 8.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Like, you look at stuff that was on, and it's ridiculous because it's the same thing as saying early 2000s, looking back to like the late 70s, early 80s. You'd have gone, it's a different world. And it's only the same jump. And I think it's weird how our relationship with time and like how things change and
I think
how the world changes. Well, that is.
I think what you're describing is.
It is.
No, because I feel the same. I'm 32, so I'm a little bit younger than you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 33 this year. But I feel like I'm on that precipice of starting to see the modern day as a bit like it wasn't fucking like that in our day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
True.
my mum was a barmaid growing up for years at the Royal Navy Club in Cleethorpes, and my dad's ex-Navy is like involved with the association and things. So I had like this really deep connection to this. This pub basically. It was a club, you know.
Yeah.
Growing up in that, you know, like fucking, my mum would be working 8-hour shifts, and me and my brother would be in there all day playing pool, fucking climbing on stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to trick the punters into giving us coins so we could go to the shop and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
People smoking, full ashtrays. People would frown upon that nowadays, but that's just a normality for us, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? But you couldn't imagine a child in today's day and age growing up in a pub that was full of smokers and old veterans and that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've thought about that in past as well, just in terms of like taking kids in pubs in general.
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, you just used to get put in a corner and, you know, potter about, have a coke and stuff. And you can say that, and like some people maybe go, is it? They shouldn't have done that. Yeah, but that's just what. That's just what it was.
Yeah, it's just normal, wasn't it?
And it's just the way things were. It's weird with class though, because I've thought about this as well. How in the place like Goole or Grimsby and Hull and stuff, like a lot of the pubs where they're community pubs, or you know, people are using them are not the most affluent and stuff. Is people probably say, for example, someone did take the kids in a pub, there maybe would be a bit of that kind of, I don't know if you should be doing that now. Whereas if you go to these gentrified places in London and Leeds and stuff, there's couples there, they'll go in pub for hours and hours and hours with the kids, and they'll leave them in a pram and stuff.
Yeah.
But because they're not in a flat roof pub in Grimsby or Goole, whatever, is someone going to look at it and go, I don't know if you should be doing that? I know it's not a direct comparison and stuff, but in terms of, it is what it is. But yeah, I've thought about that. I mean, as I say, it's not like a like for like kind of thing or anything, but
it's an interesting one, pub culture, though, isn't it? Because it is. I think it is something that really defines British culture in a sense, in some ways. Like growing up, I always saw pubs as like, it's almost like the town square. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That was the place where like my dad was going and fucking sussing out the world with his mates. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's not a lot of that anymore. Do you know what I mean? There's not a lot of that anymore. Like men used to go and meet up in the pub and put the world to rights, didn't they? And they don't anymore, so to say. Men go out and get fucked up when they go to the pub.
Yeah.
It's not really that social thing anymore. But well, from my experience anyway, people go out to get messed up.
I think a big part of that is, and I never realised it, but like you didn't start getting high strength lagers and stuff until like mid-90s, late 90s into 2000s. So for years and years when people used to go to a pub, you'd be drinking stuff that you'd need to drink 12 pints of it to get pissed. You know what I mean? And that's where, as you say, you'd spend all this time with people and you'd have all these conversations. So don't get me wrong, people used to get steaming. I mean, they sell whiskey and you know, all that stuff on the back shelf, top shelf. But yeah, I do. I mean, you can sound a bit kind of like rose tinted about it, but I'd love to go back to pubs years ago and just see what it was like. Yeah, and I bet they were just as horrible and they were full of just as many horrible people and stuff. But
I feel like going down our high street, Freeman Street, is like a little look into the past, mate.
I've never really done Grimsby. Yeah,
I reckon you'd love going for a few pints down Freeman Street, mate. I bet it's right up your street. So Freeman Street, just, you know, if you look down Freeman Street, at the end of it's the dock tower on the docks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it is the street where the fishermen would come off the boats.
Yeah.
You know, 3-day millionaires, weekend millionaires would go out, you know, womanise, gamble, pubs. And there used to be, I can't remember, I'll have to try and find that. And if I can put it up in the podcast right now, I'll put it up. But there was an insane amount of pubs within like a square mile of Grimsby Docks back in the day.
Is there still quite a lot?
There's a few
decent
on Freeman
amount.
Street, but no, a lot of them have closed down now, and you know, things like that. There used to be a couple on here as well. But you go down Freeman Street, it's one of them where all the booze is ready at 9 o'clock. Do you know
is there some
lads come off the docks and they're straight in there?
Yeah.
Shift. You know, them proper old school, working class boozers.
Is there some that have been there for a long time then? Pubs?
Some of them been there a very long time. Yeah. But the Wellington Arms, that's where Grimsby Town Football Club sort of had its inception.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that pub's over 100 years old. Really, really old place. Yeah.
What year was Grimsby? Was it 1908?
Not sure. Dane, don't I Google that?
Bring it up, Jamie. As if Joe Rogan had ever asked Jamie, when was Grimsby Town founded?
It's handy having
It's good, isn't it? Do you know what I
feel like I've got a bit more freedom with it,
because it's my first podcast. I was gonna do it as a joke anyway, because I've always wanted to do the off-camera thing.
It's 1878.
1878. God, I was way off.
Yeah.
I've been way off twice.
Long time. He was only, 30 years off?
Yeah, well, as we've said, that's not actually that long, is it? It's
20 years off.
Blinking of an eye. Yeah, it was funny because after I'd been to pick that shirt up that we're using tonight, I was walking down Goole High Street and there was a guy walking down in a Grimsby Town shirt, but it was like it must have been like 92, 93.
Yeah.
Because the sponsor on there, the Europe's Food Town. I saw it on, it must have been, I think, was it sponsored like 95, 96 when I had the Deodora kit? But anyway.
Yeah, it was definitely the 90s, early 90s, yeah.
I was looking at it thinking, Europe's Food Town, what on earth does that mean? And then, like I say, I mentioned it to you and he said, obviously, the amount of sort of freshwater fishing and stuff. Yeah, I bet they used to export a lot to Mediterranean. Because they're like a huge...
it would have gone out from everywhere.
Crabs
me,
and yeah.
It would have gone out everywhere. The docks we're on now is fucking massive, mate.
Yeah.
I'll take you through the rest of the building, and there's some pictures up around the building of what the docks was like in its prime, and it's just. I'd have loved to have seen what this place was like at its prime, because you look out on the pontoon now and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
You look at the old pictures and it is stacked full of fish, stacked full of geezers.
Yeah.
Hard men and women, with rough hands, calloused hands.
Absolutely.
Stitching nets, moving kits of fish about.
Like you say,
different time. The town had a lot of hope back then.
Yeah.
There was a lot of industry but there's not a lot of industry here now. There's a bit, but nothing compared to what it was.
But being able to go back and see it, I mean, like I say, my dad worked on shipyard. My family going back, my granddad worked on docks and stuff, and then it's another thing about that connection to place and your role in an area and like what you bring to your community and stuff. Because I look at my son sometimes and I think, he's going to look at his dad and go, "What did you do?" And it's like, I don't know. I had a lanyard for a bit and I had an office job, and what is that? Like, is he going to be proud of that? Is he going to be? How do you place yourself within that?
Yeah, but
not in like a really.
I think it's a case of shaping your kid's perspective, really. Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think,
like, I'm a dad. I've got an 8-year-old, and it's good having a job and that, innit, and having all that and whatnot. But I want her to grow up thinking my dad's like the fucking kindest, most supportive kid, and happiest. I can trust him with anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then in my eyes, like, well, everything else is secondary, innit?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I suppose with the mental health thing, that kind of outlook, you wouldn't have heard a lot of people espousing things like that, even 30, 40 years ago, in my opinion. In the sense that, people would have lived their lives like that, and they would have, they love, your family and everyone in it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot more common for people to talk about that kind of thing, innit? And to sort of outwards to say, like, this is how I'm going to raise my kids, and these are my values and stuff, and this is what we do. Because, like you say, a lot of things used to be behind closed doors, didn't they? Like, in terms of, like, you never used to really know a lot about, like, what families were like, or...
No, and I think there was more clearly defined gender roles as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whether it's correct or not, do you know what I mean? It's traditionally the men went out to work and the women reared children, and families could afford to do that. Do you know?
Yeah.
Families could afford to have 3, 4, 5 children while the dad was bringing all the money and affording it. But obviously you can't do that nowadays, can you? But definitely more clearly defined gender roles back in the day, where the man would go out to work, and the woman would. How did we get onto that?
Don't know. I think
this whole podcast is a massive tangent, mate. I think I've asked you about one of my notes. So
I know. And now I'm worried because I'm sat here thinking I've basically said I hate being in a band, and I've come on a sober podcast and said I love going to the pub.
That's the highlight right there, mate.
That's it.
But we have got to touch on some Sandra's wedding, mate.
Come on then.
But I want to get into your new album. So you've got 5 albums thus far, haven't you? Hopeful Boy, Replacement Service being the last one.
Yeah,
if I'm correct.
2023.
Yeah. I love the artwork for that, by the way. How did you do that? Was that ChatGPT?
No, it wasn't.
Was it not?
No.
I'm so glad you've said
We've
that.
never, tell a lie, we'd never used AI. We've only used it once, and it was for a single cover.
Yeah.
And I feel bad about that.
Yeah.
I feel bad about doing that.
Yeah, we fucked about with some AI, and then
Yeah, we dipped our toe. It was before, it was a while ago. I think it had been about 2021 when it was really early.
yeah,
In terms of the stuff that you can use online for free. Yeah, we did a single cover with it. But it wasn't even a full cover, it was an element of it. But anyway, yeah, slight tangent again, but the artist who did that cover is called Peter Scott, and he's from Gould.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's really good.
Shout out Peter Scott.
Yeah, brilliant artist. He's he's done books, and he does a lot of commissions and stuff for children's books, and he does a lot of wildlife painting. So yeah, you should see the Facebook message that I sent him explaining what
Exactly
I
what
wanted
you
on
want.
the
There's a lot of elements in it,
painting.
it's quite
Yeah,
busy.
it's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
But that's flown as well. 2023.
It's a good album, mate. Good album. My favourite song is the Hopeful Boy Replacement Service.
Opening track.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah. I really like the video as well. You know, the stock footage, sort of old timey clips of you and Johnny and whatnot. So yeah,
that was
good, mate.
That was calling in a bit of a favour from my mate Dave. He's video editor. He lives in London. He's one of them.
Yeah.
Gone to London with his laptop, and
the pub.
yeah. Well, he ain't had kids yet, but he will be.
But he will. He'll be there.
Yeah, he'll be there. Hours and hours on end.
No frowning.
No. Everyone will just be going, yeah. Why not? Brilliant. Yeah. I do have some friends in London that do that, but I'm not gonna name names. But what was I saying? Yeah, the artwork. Oh no, the video, the editing. Yeah, Dave, a mate of ours called Dave. He's from Gould, but he lives in London now. He helped us out. He helped us out a bit doing that. But honestly, mate, I don't know if you agree, but do you not find all that stuff, all that side of being in a band quite draining?
What, everything other than playing music?
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't necessary, but because it is, I try and enjoy it. Do you know?
Yeah, maybe draining's the wrong word.
Like, it is cumbersome, isn't it? I think cumbersome might be the correct.
Yeah. Draining. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We had a planning meeting yesterday. Obviously, we just got out of the studio. We recorded a 4-track EP. So we're going to release some singles and put the EP out. So we had a planning meeting yesterday. We got a list of jobs together for single 1. There was fucking 36 jobs on that list. You know what I mean?
Video ideas.
All sorts, mate. I mean, video was just one thing on that list. That was one item. All 35 else was like, we need to update bios, we need cover photos, we need fucking this, we need that, we need to send out to bloggers, we need to send to radio stations, we need to upload to BBC Introducer, amazing, do you know?
Yeah. Do you do all that stuff?
We didn't have to do all that. I wish you could just put a record out and your record gets success based on the merit of the product. But unfortunately, you've got to do everything else.
You're right. Yeah,
if you want a good stab at it.
I've had a similar conversation with a singer from Scotland. She's called Sylvie. Good artist. Playing with her in July. Just saying the same thing about, like, it's a real catch-22 in it, because all the stuff you don't want to do, you've got to do it.
And you've got to do it well.
And then the music, you finish it and then you think, I've really enjoyed that and I'm really proud of this. And now I've got to ping off all these emails and I've got to do this. And like I say, there's worse things in the world than sending emails and doing all that kind of thing, but it can be a bit, and especially if you're really proud of something and you do all that stuff and then you still think, I feel like more people could have heard this. Could have got it out a bit more. It's going to
land, yeah.
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to land. But, I mean, it's one of them, we've paid for PR on songs, you know.
Yeah, we've done that.
You know, it's not cheap, mate. Do you know? And
we might as well.
Nowhere. We've done better. We've had more successful campaigns doing our own thing.
We might as well have taken suitcases of cash out in the garden and burnt them.
Or
compared to paying for PR and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just another thing I'd say to a young band starting. What we said about the PR thing, the paying for it, and I don't know if you had a similar mindset, was until we do it, we're not going to know if it's the swizz that I think it is.
Yeah.
So we did it in quite a positive mindset. We didn't do it thinking we're going to be absolute top of the pops here, you know, we're going to get this and over. but you get inundated with all that stuff, though. Like, you know, we can do this, we can do that, and you know, we have done it in the past. Not a small amount of money either. I've spoke to so many bands who've done it, you know.
Yeah.
And there's people just sat laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We paid, you know, X amount of money, and you know, you're getting an email back however long, 6 weeks later. Oh, your track's been played on like East Anglia coastal bedroom radio, and you go, well, I'm not knocking it. That's brilliant, but I don't know if it was worth that much money.
No, I completely agree, mate.
But the thing is, anyone who's doing that PR has the perfect out, and it's the perfect way to make money. Is preying. Again, I keep using language, and I don't want it to come across like, but preying on bands in the sense that you pay for it for them to promote this song or album, and if it's not getting the traction that you think it should because you love it, they can just say, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I don't think people aren't really picking it up, and you can't then turn around and go, well, that's rubbish because it's brilliant. Yeah, you're in a real bind, aren't you?
Yeah, it's when you look at it like that, it is a bit of a flawed way to do things, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Well, it's kind of like insurance, isn't it? Like, give them loads of money, you might need it, you might not need it.
Yeah,
you know, and it's same with PR. Like, give them loads of money.
Absolutely,
it might work, it might not work.
There might be PR people that use this model, but I've thought about it before and saying, if you put the cash in like escrow, so it's not gone anywhere, and you say, right, results based, you get us stuff that's good. That money's you're gonna get it.
Quid a mole.
Yeah, you're gonna get them. Yeah,
tenner a mole.
I mean, but there'll be people who are in that world listening to this going, well, what do you know about it? And I get it because it's a different world, and I'm not. I've said it a few times because I've come on this podcast. It's like I'm coming just moaning about everything, but it's not the case. It's like I'm not. This isn't me knocking any element of like the music industry or the people involved. There's loads of really good people, but I just think it is that handful of people that are just that just make me think.
Yeah.
The amount of times we've said as a band, so we've made this record, and it feels like everyone has been paid apart from us.
Yeah.
In terms of what you recoup and. You know, you've paid for PR, you've paid for this, you've paid for distribution, you've paid for blah, blah, blah. But like we say, all the money we make goes back into band anyway, so, you know, it's not... we're lucky and unlucky in the sense that we've got jobs, so, you know, the music is a passion on side.
Yeah.
I feel for people who've taken the plunge and they do it, you know, it's their income because it's a big risk. It's a big jump.
Huge risk, yeah. It'd have to be... I'd have to have some guarantees,
you
know what I mean? Which is a shame, innit?
Absolutely.
You've got to do that, but there's just no support out there for creatives, really, is there? I mean, well, there is, but you've really got to look for it, and even then, it's only to sustain certain projects or certain development opportunities. There's nothing where it's like, oh, you're a good creative, let's just give you some funding so you can do more of that and put more of that into the universe.
Yeah.
But too idealistic, innit?
So if anyone's listening, want to give us a couple of G's...
Yeah, I'd be happy with 2G. Yeah, 2G will get us back in the studio.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, once we've covered admin costs, everything, there'd be about 300 left for music. You know.
So, Arteris Rex, that's a new album, innit, from Sandra?
Arteris Rex, yeah.
Arteris Rex. When can people expect that to drop? Where are you at with that?
We're recording at Young Thugs again in York with Johnny Hooker, who... patience of a saint. To be fair, we're quite good at recording, and I mean that in the sense that we're lucky. I'm lucky in the sense that the guys in band are good musicians. You know, we don't really have many issues with recording. It's more creative. We enjoy it because we can just be creative with it.
Yeah.
But next Wednesday, we've got the string quartet, and that's not being cheap.
Is it not?
No.
Nice.
So again, because it fit the vibe, I've just thought, let's just do it. I've always wanted to have live strings on an album.
Mate.
What?
I wish I could tell you, but I can't. But I wholeheartedly agree.
I feel like I'm picking up on I'm reading between the lines.
There's some healer shit going on.
Yeah, that's good.
That may be reminiscent of what you're doing.
Right, that's good.
That's all I can say. But
so have both bands been...
I've been fleeced. No.
Not fleeced, but we've made an investment in the sound.
We haven't made an investment. We've made a relationship.
Oh, that's good. It sounds like you've done it right. So I'm trying to work. I'm
We'll
working.
talk more about that off screen.
Yeah, I'm working. I think I've worked it out, and I think that sounds good though. That.
Yeah, it will be fun. Yeah.
So is that you've got?
It excites me. I'm like getting excited, sat here thinking about it.
You're doing you're doing EP.
We've just done an EP. Yeah. So we was at Chapel Studios. For those at home, that's just south of Louth. It's got some great credits, that place.
Yeah, I had a look earlier.
Slow Dive was in there the week before we were.
Who was in the before? Sorry.
Slow Dive.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I think Arctic Monkey's first album, whatever people say, That's What I'm Not. I think that was famously recorded there.
Yeah.
Catfish and the Bottom Men have been there.
Yep.
Got some really good credits.
Who is it? One guy who does the producing, or is there a few that use it?
we didn't have a producer as such. We had an engineer with us.
Yeah.
Called Peter. Lovely lad. Grown quite close over the studio time. Really nice.
Is he affiliated with the studio?
Yeah. So he works for Chapel Studios. Yeah. He lives in Leeds, but he goes and lives at the studio when there's projects on. Things like that. But it's he was an engineer, but he really got our sound straight away.
Yeah.
And he even began producing some elements by the end of it. And,
it's good.
But it was a two-way relationship. I don't think he would have done it unless he thought he was comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, we was a good fucking team.
Sounds good.
It was like having a sixth band member in the room, mate. Which
That's
is
nice.
Really handy to have when you're in that studio environment.
Yeah.
Someone who fully gets it.
It makes the job a lot easier when whoever's doing it with you is into it.
Yeah.
Because like you say, even with that dynamic in the past, if it's just a job to someone, and it all is a job, but if they're getting into it,
yeah,
it gives you a bit of a lift, doesn't it? And it means that you're hoping that they're getting a bit more out of it than just plugging in and twisting. And
today, for example, he when was mixing? Mixing was on Wednesday. Yeah, mixing day was Wednesday. It's a few days ago now. Today he's sending updated mixes, going, I've been listening to them on headphones and I've had this idea. I've put a mix in there.
That's good.
In the folder. Let me know what you think. And I thought the song sounded perfect anyway. And I go in and listen to it, and I'm like, they sound even better.
Yeah.
With his suggestions, and you're just like, fucking hell. When I didn't think I had any room to get any better, he just, but that's because he's sat at home listening to the music, trying to make it as best as possible, But it's a special record. I'm so excited.
Sounds really good.
Out, mate.
Have you done your artwork?
We haven't yet. No.
How does that work in band? Do you like have one of you who goes, I think we should do this, or is
we fucked about a little bit with AI back in the day, but we've kind of made a consensus that it needs to be a high quality photo.
Yeah.
I think everyone's using AI. It's a bit cheap, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And you can kind of tell.
Get Dan
to
take it.
Dano.
He's been on pod on it. Did you have him on?
Oh, Dan Baker.
Yeah.
He said it had a little interaction with you guys.
Did he tell you about the?
That
day when honestly we were talking about it afterwards, and I was like,
ended up getting one of the country's best street photographers.
Did he tell you the story?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. He said you just kind of collared him and went, "Oh, mate, you've got a camera."
It was what he was just on the street in Cleethorpes.
Yeah.
And I was walking. We were walking towards the beach because we were just going to get a rubbish picture on a phone or whatever. And he had his camera around his neck.
Yeah.
And I just saw him and I thought, I'm just going to ask. I just went, is that digital? And I don't even know why I asked that because, why would it matter? And he was like, it's analog, it's film. It's like, oh no, it might have been digital actually. He had a film camera with him, but that was digital. And I was like, look, we're going to go to the beach and take a couple of pictures. We're in a band. If you want to come and take some, that'd be brilliant. And he was like, yeah, all right then.
Nice one.
So now he was singing these pictures, and I said, I'll send you a few quid, a bit of beer money. Thanks for doing that. Cheers, mate. Give me a thing. And then I went on his profile. It was like 100,000 followers and stuff. And I was like,
30k followers.
30k. Instagram, I always embellish things, don't I? I always.
I did the other day though. I was like, you got 50k followers on you. He was like,
he's a really nice
30.
guy.
I was like, well, at least you're honest, mate.
Really nice guy.
Him up then. Yeah, lovely bloke. Yeah, first time I met him when we had him in the studio the other day. Yeah, really nice guy. I mean, we didn't plan it, but we wanted a team photo because I'm very mindful that there's Dane and there's another guy, Connor, who do a lot of work on this behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't get enough sort of accreditation, do you know what I mean? But I want to preach about we're a team, you know, it's not just me. I'm on camera, but we are a fucking team.
Yeah.
And he was in the other night, and Dane was like, "Oh, weren't you going to ask him to get a photo of us?" And I thought, "Oh, fuck no." You know, it's like, "Can you get a photo on your phone, mate?" And he was like, "I've got my camera." So we went outside and we got some full-length portraits. They look good, didn't they, off his little camera? But
when I think
can't
about
wait
that,
to get him. Yeah.
when I think about that moment now, I just cringe because I just think he must have thought he must know who I am. But I didn't have a clue who he was.
He's a very humble guy, mate. I don't think he would have.
It was good. But the other thing that's funny about his style's really kind of like candid, innit? Like Martin Parr, you know, like that kind of the moment kind of thing. Yeah, and obviously, like
documentary.
Us four were like there going, right, how shall we pose? Where do you want us? And we were like sort of standing on beach and stuff. And it's not his bag, is it? I mean, he was really cool about it. But,
oh yeah, he was with us, mate. He was having fun with us. He was like, "Oh yeah, do jazz hands." I was doing jazz hands. He was like, why the fuck are you doing them? I was like, "Stop telling me to do shit, mate. I'll do it."
Absolutely. I do really love his stuff.
Yeah,
I do really
it's
love his
great,
stuff.
innit?
You should just use one of his candid ones for your cover. That'd be good.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It'll all come. We're rolling planning. We're trying to be a bit secret squirrel with everything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The final mixes are like guarded, lock and key. You know.
When are you hoping to get that out?
Security. There's dogs there. There's. So we've done 4 tracks. We're going to release 3 singles over the next probably 12 to 15 weeks. Complete with videos and everything.
Yeah.
You know, each individual campaign. Then, sort of 4 or 5 weeks after the last single goes out, we'll release the EP as a whole with the 4th single on it. I can't wait, mate. I'm so excited. It's the best. It's our best body of work yet.
Do you get stuff mastered?
Yeah, we will be getting it mastered. Yeah.
Yeah, we normally send it off. It's another expense in it, and it's worth it.
You need it. Yeah.
Yeah, we just past like sometimes people have peeking behind the curtain a little bit, but like saying, "Oh, well, just put it through a mastering chain on thingy or whatever."
It just runs it through loads of limiters.
Yeah,
you want to play. We've actually just going to go with someone who's come on recommendation from Chapel Studios this time, because we did have a guy who'd done mastering for Noel Gallagher and things like that. You know.
Oh, we won't mention names, but we not that he's done it wrong, but I think it might be who we use.
Robert Schmidt.
No.
Right, so it's not.
So that's the guy who you've used in the past?
Yeah, that's who we used in the past. But the new guy we're using is come on recommendation, and basically Pete, who's just engineered our music, he showed us some of his previous work he's engineered for a band called Wargasm, and I'm meant to believe that it's the same mastering engineer, and the mixes was incredible. Really odd sounding band with a lot of different sonic elements, but the mixes sound fucking so clear.
Just tidy it up.
We're just saying, look, he's engineered and to an extent now produced our material for us. If he's saying he believes this guy's the best one to sign his tracks off, who the fuck are we to say different? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
good that he's that interested and invested in it.
Yeah.
Is the mastering engineer, is he called Pete?
The mastering engineer. No, I don't know his name. We've basically made a query for a website. And we're waiting to hear prices back. That's where we're at with this mastering engineer. But he's come on, we've name dropped Pete, and he's come on recommendation and that. So
very good.
We'll see. But yeah, very excited. It's we've not put a release out in over a year now. Healer haven't.
No, well, it'd be getting on for us as well, to be fair.
Yeah. So, but we're coming back with a fucking bang, mate. Single number 1. We've never played it live. It's completely brand new. Do you know what I mean?
I like doing that,
Yeah, completely brand new. It's the first time we've done it, really sat on something. And it's going to be good, mate. Putting a lot of time and effort into the releases and whatnot. And the songs deserve it. So
very good.
Do you know what I mean? Very excited. It's going to be a very exciting rest of the year for us. Yeah, in terms of releases and things.
Looking forward to hearing it. Like I say,
I wish I could just show everyone. I'm just itching to show everyone.
It's the worst bit, innit? I love recording. I prefer recording to playing live, I must say. I just prefer being in a studio.
I love the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I said, so we got strings next Wednesday, and then we should be more or less done. A couple of touches, similar process, mix, mastered, and then ours is 10 tracks. We'll pick 1 or 2 singles, 2 or maybe 1, 2, 3. Knock some videos together. Similar process to you. We're just in that part now where we're trying to nail down details about which is going to be first track, which is going to be, you know, what we're going to do with this, what video is going to be for that. It's I like that. I don't dislike it. I just wish, like I say, it'd just be great if someone just do it for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or even not do it if you just had someone who sorted stuff out. So they just said, look, just turn up in this field at this time, and we'll do a video, and then go home.
We've got a very, very talented videographer in our band.
Oh, really?
So we've got that to draw upon, yeah. But we've done sort of conventional music videos up until this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like cinematic with not a lot of narrative or band shots, that type of thing. Whereas we're trying to think a bit more abstract and a bit more out there with these, and that's as far as I'm going to go. But we kind of want our videos to kind of be like,
I think,
fuck have I just watched?
Yeah.
You know,
to be fair, with stuff like that as well, you get more leeway with it because there's no defined kind of like thread or whatever, and I think it makes it a little bit easier in a way. Not in terms of like the effort you put in, but like more in like you don't get in the weeds of like, oh well, that don't make sense, or like what does that cut make sense, or like, oh, I don't really like that bit, or you remove all that, don't you? Because then you're just a lot more freeform, are you? And you just, we've done it in the past where we've done stuff and we just said, oh, just stick it, just do whatever with it. Not because you don't want to do it, but because we've done conventional ones in the past as well, where it's like a couple of cameras, pick up shots and stuff, and you're playing the song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right, it's fair enough, but then
serves a purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like we want to just stay on an upward trajectory. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like learn from what we've done in previous releases, and you know, but try and stay true and try and stay on the upward curve. Do you know what I mean? Like just trying to get better every time. Do you know, every release, everything we do, like stronger songs.
Yeah.
Do you know, stronger brand identity. Like
yeah,
we're really trying to. This is the first body of work we've put out, so we're really trying to release it as a concept rather than just a piece of music, if that makes sense.
So are they thematically tied together?
Each song is unintentional initially, but it's got a really nice theme. You know, the record.
Cool.
It's a bit of a. It's kind of a homage to this conversation we've kind of had today. Do you know what I mean? One of the songs in particular, it's about how sort of London's got England captured. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people making a lot of noise. But can you even hear us? That's the kind of theme of that.
That's cool.
But it explores some other themes about like sort of disconnect and just the general way we feel the world's at the minute. We really want to try and hone that and capture that with our visuals for the records and for the EP as a whole. And we've tried to do that, but we're sat on our best work now. Do you know what I mean? And we want to put it out there with the best attempt we can at it, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
And even if it flops, at least we can go to bed at night thinking, well, we fucking worked hard on that. We're proud of that. Do you know what I mean?
It's weird though, isn't it? Because I know what you mean, because I'd use similar terminology, but like, I think when you're at you mentioned the football analogy, like in the football pyramid, like of music, I feel like, I would say that you guys are above us, but, you know, when you're down there, not down there, but you know what I mean? Like, we're not in Premier League, are we? You know, in terms of like where we're at, in terms of, we're doing it all ourselves. Basically what I mean is, we're doing it. No, I wouldn't even say Sunday League. We always use that analogy though in terms of like music, because you've got Premier League, you've got Championship, you've got League One. I would say you're probably below Championship, we're probably like up League One kind of thing. And that's just a way for me to compartmentalise it in my head, is because you've got, you know, you sell out big size venues, you know, you've got a good following, and
we do all right round here.
That's what I mean, and I think that when you say flop, going back to the point is, I don't think it can, because I think your fans will love it and they'll get into it, and you're only gonna, in my opinion, you're only gonna go on. There's only gonna be more people who listen to you off the back of it, and it sounds like it's gonna be really exciting. So.
It's almost like I've kind of, you know, I'm selfish. I've got everything I want from it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've written that.
Yeah.
I performed that. I've recorded that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I fucking put that out into the universe with a really nice video, and you know, everything's visually stimulating. And then so I've got my fulfillment. Do you know what I mean? And then it's kind of like that point. Well, we just go again. Do you know? Let's do it all over again.
That's it. I'm already thinking about the album that we're doing after this one.
Yeah,
we haven't even finished this one.
Out of the studio, mate, and we're like, so when we're looking at the album, you know, but it'll come. But it's crazy because we've not recorded in a while. So 3 of the songs we've recorded are sort of established songs, and one of them is brand new. But then we're already sat on a fucking. It could be an EP in itself, another sort of EP's worth of brand new material. Yeah, that's really, really strong. You know, that we really love. So we've not even got through this first EP, and we're already like, I think on the precipice of that chapter. Do you know, in them songs, and I hope it never stops. So you know,
but I was just going to say, I think when you're in that mindset and when you're thinking like that, it's not because you don't care about what you're doing at the time. Because like someone listening to me, then I think. Well, does that mean that you're really paying all the attention to what you're doing now, which is finishing off this record? But it's like, I'm in passenger seat now. They're going to put the strings on next week. I mean, I'm not conducting. I'm just going to enjoy it. So once that's done, mixed, mastered, you know, that's gone. It's out of my hands then. It's a thing of its own, innit? And I'm similar to mindset to yours. What you just said there is because this album that we're finishing now is quite personal to me in the sense that a lot of it's about becoming a dad over the last year and a half and whatever. It's not, I wouldn't say it's schmaltzy. I don't like that. It's not like overly like on the sleeve, like, you know. But there's lots of that stuff in there. Yeah. Is like you say, I couldn't care less whether anyone. Like I'm sure that they will because
it's a bonus, isn't it?
It sounds like
if it resonates, it's a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like us. It sounds slightly different in the sense that we've tried to get a certain vibe going on it. We tried to be a bit more organic, a bit more. Johnny's played a few more acoustics on it. You know, we haven't brought the drums down as such, but we've tried to make it not as in your face. In terms of like a mix or like when you put it on, it's quite. We want it to have a bit of depth, and obviously with the strings being on, give them a bit of room at the top to swirl around, bit of piano, you know, acoustic. I mean, I've been on acoustic since we started, and even that next album, I'm just going to get an electric and just get the most horrible tone you've ever heard in your life, and just do because the good thing is for us is we can achieve a really new sound just by me playing electric. Yeah. Because we've sat on an acoustic for. Yeah. Getting on for 10 years, it'll be back time that, you know, we're on to doing another album. And another thing I 100% want to do for the next one is, just so that it's done, rehearse the songs, get them nailed down, and just record them live. Whether it's in a studio or we do a gig where we record it live, I just want to do something live because the last few projects we've done have been quite... Because people work full-time, you can't just go, oh, yeah, we're off to so-and-so studios for 2 weeks, we're going to do this record.
It's staggered, broken up.
It's just broken up, and I always
you lose something that way, don't you? It's like we just lived. You know, we woke up in the morning and we went in the fucking studio.
I was going to ask if you stayed over.
Yeah. We stayed.
How long were you there?
5 days.
Yeah, see, brilliant. Can make a record.
I mean, it's only half an hour away, so people was dipping in and out. And,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But we was bulk of us was together 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, we was finishing a session at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
We're up till 2 a.m. planning the next morning. Next morning we're up. You know.
Yeah.
I've put piano down for the first time on a song in my life. Do you know what I mean? That was fun. I really got some time to work on some BBs, some backing vocals. You know, for the EP and that as well, which was really nice. It's just great. Just our greatest creative expression yet.
I can tell that you're excited about it, which is always a good sign.
Oh mate, I'm buzzing about it. I'm so excited about it. And I said, even if no one else is, it's just like I'm a selfish twat.
Well, anyone watching or listening to this podcast, I am also excited about what we're releasing.
Yeah, good.
But it maybe it maybe doesn't look like it, and B, it maybe doesn't sound like it. But I am genuinely like it's going to come out. It's going to come out good. I'm excited about it in the sense that it's familiar enough where people will get it, but you know there are some turns on there and sounds and stuff where it's a bit different. I mean, just to touch on what we also talked about is, could our demeanours be because I'm drinking and it's making me feel a bit drained.
Maybe.
So that's maybe the advertisement for
maybe try an album without, mate.
sober sessions. Yeah, absolutely. But now I'm making it sound like I'm just on the sauce 24/7. That's not the case. But no, it's interesting how we've obviously both sat down. It sounds like both the bands are in a similar place in terms of what we want out of the band, and how we perceive ourselves, and also, like you say, we're just at this point where we're both finishing bodies of work off, record EP.
Always the most exciting time though, isn't it, for a band? Like,
yeah.
I love performing live. I love that, but I love the studio process. I love that creative process, and I really, really love putting something out into the universe. You know what I mean, because you can play a song and rehearse it and perform it and that, but until you've put it down in its best iteration, and you've put it out there, do you know, like, I fucking love that idea. Do you know what I mean, that could be there long after we're dead and buried.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean, but we still put it out there. That's like a piece of us that exists forever.
Absolutely.
I really love that anyway. I really love that idea. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's magical.
Well, it is, isn't it? And I think as much as we moaned about modern music and the industry and everything, the really good thing about bands of our size is you've got a lot more freedom and a lot more ability to get things out than you did in the past. It's double-sided because sometimes people will come up to me and say, I love your band, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I listen to you on Spotify all the time. And I think, it's amazing, but it'd be great if you bought a little record.
Yeah.
And you don't want to say that to them, but like, we're not going to get onto streaming because that's just an absolute kettle of fish in it. Just in terms of only that, but like, that can be a bit of a weird conversation to have because you think, you love the fact that they love it.
Yeah.
But I always equate it to, if we were bakers and we just walked around just going, oh, do you want some bread? I've made this beautiful bread. And then people just eating it and going, oh, lovely this, isn't it?
Yeah, love that.
Do you want this quarter of a penny?
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, Just like stood in front of you, just eating it.
Like another.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. It's like
It's a good analogy, mate.
You just give the world this stuff because you love it, and then people just fill the boots with it, and that's absolutely fair enough.
Fucking Napster, eh? Fucking Napster.
But what's the other point I was going to make? Is, and I'm sure you guys at same is, we're lucky we've got a little, and it is a little group of people that buy everything we do, but that group mean that we know we can put something out, and it's going to keep the wheel turning, and
just keep getting bigger, mate.
And that's it. And I think
into that pool, don't you? And you keep
the
consistency, mate. You've got to keep grinding.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have to cut it off there, mate, because we've got some prep to do for tonight, haven't we? But any final points?
Well, I was just going to say, because we have been rabbiting on, haven't we? I was trying to work out then. I'm wondering, how long have we been talking here?
I ain't got a clue. Dane?
92 minutes.
92 minutes. That's not bad going, is it, mate?
What's the longest one you've done so far?
2 hours and stuff.
Was it?
But I reckon we could beat that, mate. I reckon we're going to have to get...
Well, what I was going to say...
you're going to have to come back with Johnny and the other lads. So,
yeah, we'll do it.
And we'll have them... I mean, it's been lovely talking today, mate, but it'd be nice to have a bit of, get into the weeds about Sandra's wedding. Obviously, you've got nearly a decade of experience to draw upon, haven't you?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Again, it's a bit weird because, like, obviously, like you say, I think it'd have been a bit indulgent for me to get really into band because I'm only one bit of it.
That's the beauty of the podcast, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I come with notes, and if I come away without using any of them, bonus.
I think
they're the most organic ones.
No, I've really enjoyed that. Yeah, it's a bit of a skill in itself, in it, to be able to do things like this and to talk and be candid. Because, I mean, I don't know if people pick up on it, but you do start sort of second guessing yourself in terms of you saying stuff and you're thinking, oh God, am I going to create a storm here by saying something? Not that I said out controversial, but like, even just in terms of like saying stuff, you're just like a bit like, I've never thought about that. It was a bit like therapy, really, because I've said some stuff here and I thought, I've never really thought about that before.
It's good hashing out, mate. It's good having these.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been really good. I've really genuinely enjoyed it.
One thing I'm noticing is across various people I'm interviewing, and that is, as a creative, a lot of people have the same problems, mate. A lot of people have the same hurdles. A lot of people have the same.
Yeah.
Me and Dan was talking about creativity blocks, and it's crazy the same things you do to get over them.
Yeah,
There's so much crossover. I'm really enjoying that element of the podcasting.
You're doing a good thing.
Yeah, it's fun, mate. It's fun, and if it stops being fun, I'll fuck it off. But whilst it remains fun, let's crack on.
Honestly, yeah, genuinely, you should be really proud about what you're doing because,
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, Grimsby are lucky to have you, and the guys that do the, you know, the club and, you know, the community element of it.
Shout out Creative Start.
Creative Start, that's the one.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks again, mate. Lovely having you on.
Thank you.
Any closing words?
Jamie, could you pull up the could you pull up the year that Sunny Delight was launched in the UK? I'm only joking.
And if you've liked what you heard, hit like and subscribe. Thanks, everyone.